right, so continuing on with task 4, which is just performing a leukocyte differential. We still have our microscope, which is still has the light on from when we just finished looking and doing our white blood cell estimate. So my slide again is still on the 40 times objective lens. For the next step, we're going to want to move it over to the oil immersion lens, which is the 100 times lens. Right here I have my immersion oil in my secondary container. I have a calculator because we're going to want to do a platelet count similar to the white blood cell estimate, which I'll go over a little later. And then I just have a pen to take my notes. Unfortunately, at my practice, we don't have a standard mechanical counter like the nice one in the textbook. So what I have here, I just wrote down our different white blood cells, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a tally for each time I see one of those white blood cells, and I will count them at the end. I also have this little guy right here, so every time I see a white blood cell, I will be clicking this, and that'll help me count up to 100 as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and reset this guy to 0. So again, between this and tallying, make sure I have 100 white blood cells that are counted. So then this box, I will tally up everything afterwards, and that'll be the percentage of white blood cells that I see on my slide. We'll also have a little section down here that we're just going to write any morphology changes that we see on our slide, or any morphology that we've noticed on our slide. And then we'll do our platelet count or our platelet estimate. Okay, so leave this over here for right now. So, and again, my counter is at 0. So what we're going to want to do, first things first, we're going to want to take our immersion oil and we're going to apply 1 drop onto our slide and then switch it over to our 100 times lens, which is just, again, our oil immersion objective lens. So I'm just going to kind of go in between the 40 times lens and the 100 times lens. I'm going to kind of keep it there for a sec. Okay. We're going to go ahead and use our pipette just to place 1 drop of the immersion oil onto our slide. Alright, so that's 1 drop. So then we're going to go ahead and switch it over to the 100 times lens, which is our oil immersion objective lens. We're just going to close this and put it to the side because we're done with it for right now. And then, so we're going to go ahead and take a peek under our 100 times oil immersion lens. And again, we're in our monolayer right now, which is our starting point for where we want to start counting our white blood cells. And again, we want to count 100 white blood cells. So any of these guys over here that I see, again, I'm going to make a tally. And I'm also going to use this guy to help me count as well. So it might be quiet for a little bit because I'm going to be focusing on just trying to count 100 white blood cells. Okay, and I'm also just going to stand because I keep sitting on my foot and making my foot go numb. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to count our white blood cells. And again, while we're looking on our slide as well, you know, we have to also keep in mind, we want to keep an open mind of any abnormalities or morphologies that we might see on our slide as well, because we're going to want to note that down at the end as well. So I'm just going to turn the light up a little bit. And I also just want to focus just to see a little bit better. Just focusing. I just want to move a little bit. Okay. So again, it's going to be a little more difficult just because I don't have a nice mechanical counter like in our textbook. Those are pretty awesome. So again, I just need to kind of manually keep in mind what I'm seeing and use this guy to help me count as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and count 100 white blood cells. So, my lens wide. There we go. So we got And we're almost near 100, so I just want to make sure I go slow. No, excuse me. Okay. So now that we counted up to 100, okay, so on my little counter here, we got 100 white blood cells. Okay. And up here, again, you kind of see all my tallies of my white blood cells that I saw. We have a whole bunch of neutrophils, so just give me a moment just so that I can count my tallies up, just to make sure that that is matching my 100 as well. Okay. So it adds up. So if I do, so for neutrophils, I got a count of 85, which would be 85%. So 85. Okay, so neutrophils, I counted 85, which is 85%. And then band neutrophils, I have 5, so that's 5%. Lymphocytes, I counted 5, so that's 5%. Monocytes, I counted 3, so that's 3%. Basophils, I counted 2, so that's 2%. And eosinophils, I counted none. I did not see any, so that's 0%. So then if you take all those and add them up, 85 plus 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 is going to equal 100. Okay, so then going through all my white blood cells, again, neutrophils makes up 85% of what I just counted. Band neutrophils is 5%, lymphocytes 5%, monocytes 3%, basophils 2%, eosinophils 0 because I did not see any. Okay, so that's just my percentage of all the white blood cells I just counted out of all 100. So again, we're just going to go ahead and reset my counter to 0. 0, just so it's ready for the next person to use. I closed my secondary container of my immersion oil. Just keep that over there as well. As far as any morphology, it was relatively how do you say, boring, which is good news for this friend because I didn't really see anything too concerning. There was definitely no platelet clumping at all, so I'm going to say none noted for platelet clumping. There was no anisitosis from what I've observed, so I'm going to say none noted. Did see some crenated red blood cells, so it was about 1 to 2 of the crenated red blood cells per high power field. So I'm just going to say 1 to 2, or approximately 1 to 2 seen per high power field. But other than that, I mean, everything I've seen on my slide that I just looked at looked relatively good. So I'm pretty happy for this friend. So then the last part of this section that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do a platelet count, just kind of similar to what we did earlier with our white blood cell estimate. So basically, same kind of concept. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes, which is going to represent the 10 fields that we view. Per each field, we're going to count how many platelets we see and put the number in each box until we see 10 different fields. We're going to add up all of those platelets, and again divide it by 10 to get our average number of platelets, and then we're going to multiply that by 20,000 to get our platelet count or our platelet estimate. Okay, so come on over here. We're going to have a seat. All right, so again, this is on our 100 times power lens, which is our oil immersion field or lens, and we're going to go ahead and just start counting 10 different fields and counting our platelets. Okay, just going to dim the light a smidge, focus a little bit. There we go, that's better. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom over here in the monolayer, and we're going to go ahead and start counting some platelets per power field. So I got my pen in hand. So we got 6. Move up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, I had 10 in that one. So that was 5. 4. 3. 5. 2. 3. Over just a smidge. 4. And then I'm to my last box, which is going to be my 10th field, and we'll see how many platelets we see in there. Three. Okay, so I have all my boxes filled, which means that I looked at 10 different fields and counted my platelets in each of those fields. So we're going to go ahead and add those up. Okay, so we have 6 plus 10 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3 equals, so that's a total of 45 platelets that I noted in 10 fields. So then we're going to go ahead and we're going to divide that by 10. So that's going to be 4.5. So that 4.5 is my average platelet count. So then we're going to go ahead and take the 4.5 and we're going to multiply that by 20,000. So then we have, so we're going to multiply that by 20,000, which is then going to equal 90,000 per microliter. Okay. So then I just have over here, I added up all of the number of platelets I saw in all the 10 fields. We got a total of 45. We want to divide that by 10 because that's the number of fields that we viewed, which is going to be an average of 4.5 times 20,000. So we have 90,000 per microliter, and that is our platelet count. Okay, so again, we went over counting 100 white blood cells and the percentages of each. We did our platelet count and we noted any morphology, which luckily for this friend doesn't seem to really have any other than just some crenated red blood cells. So that wraps up this portion of task 4. Just give me a moment, I'll be back and we'll continue on.